Hi, it's Diederik Elderman here, speaker, trainer, author of 4 published books, and founder of Business Productivity Academy and Turbocharge Your Practice. Welcome to today's video blog. Now, I want to backtrack 2 blogs, and I sent you a little video on why my local coffee shop has changed. And it really surprised me, the comments that came out of the woodwork. And they all went along the lines of, Diederik, wow, BFO, I've suddenly realised why my team members aren't upselling, whether that's the vets or the receptionist or the nurses, why they aren't ethically upselling products and services that I would consider a normal ethical upsell because they're in the pet's benefit. Thank you very much. So I just want to go back to that point and belabor it because, like I said, there were so many comments came out of the woodwork, and interestingly enough, they came out of the woodwork from practices that are very high-end practices that are doing, quite well, that I'd have expected would have covered this off, all the way through to practices that are struggling. And this feedback came from all over the world, and it came from, small one-vet practices through to multi-vet practices, through urban and rural, and the whole gamut. So really these ethical, and I'm not going to keep using that word, but I need to belabor that point. These upsells and cross-sells are ethical and are provided because they're in the best interests of the client, the patient, the pet, whatever you want to call it. So these all go back to, why do we get out of bed every morning? Okay? Why do our clients come to us? So they go back to this word that I hate and that I keep coming up against all the time. And if it's this word that if we don't have it in place and don't have it locked in place in our practice, it comes and bites us on our butt big time and does so repetitively. And that word is vision. In my model of the world, I prefer the vision rather than be called a vision, why do we get up to get out of... let me rephrase that. Why do I get to get up out of bed every morning and come to work? Step 1. So what's joyous about coming to work for me? And when the client asks me, why should I use you? Why should I come to you when there's a lot of other practices in town? That you can answer them and interfaces with that. And the second part of that vision, which is, the difference between having to get up and come to work versus getting to get up to come to work. It's the difference between having a job and making a difference, having a job and having a calling, if you like. Okay, the difference between a job and a calling. Paycheck versus making a difference. Paycheck versus purpose. Okay, so the second part of that is what I call values or core values. So if you haven't, go back to your team. If you're a practice owner and a practice manager, what I'd suggest is you go back to your team and ask them, hey, why do you come to bed why do you get out of bed to come to work every morning? And see whether that interfaces with the vision that you have in your practice and have discussed at some time for your practice. And then the second thing is this thing of core values. These are what we live our lives by, both personally and when we have personal core values. For me, one of them is constant and never-ending improvement. The other one, for example, is contribution. So they're 2 of my personal core values. You've got your own personal core values, whatever they are, and you've probably got half a dozen by which you live your life, and they're the go zone or the no-go zone. If someone tries to get you to do something contrary to one of your core values, it's, hey, that's a no-go zone. I will not cross that line. So what are the core values in your practice? And there's got to be, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. And it might be, one of them might be, excellence, in pet care. And they may be phrases, or they may be single words. I think phrases are just a little bit better than a single word, because single words allow too much personal interpretation, and these need to be practice driven and need to suffuse through the whole practice. So there may be excellence in communication. One of the ones from my practice was constant and never ending improvement. Another one in my practice was providing everything that pets need for as long and as healthy a life as possible. Another one from my practice, for example, was providing everything a client needs to look after their pets as long as possible. Taking the stress out of pet care. So, if you've got 3 or 4 or 5 core values, all sitting underneath, the practice vision, then the upsell or the cross-sell no longer becomes that nasty word upsell or cross-sell. And I'll always use that word because it helps me differentiate the two different things that I'm trying to do. And to me, the word ethical is always sitting there in brackets in front of it. So let's go back to providing IV fluids or pre-anaesthetic blood tests with surgery, or recommending it with surgery. And maybe even in your practice it's not optional, it's simply compulsory. Now if your one of your core values is excellence in pet care, well, that's a given, isn't it? It's a given that you will recommend IV fluids, bloods with surgeries. The other example I gave was providing a 6-pack for a client rather than a 3-pack. Well, if we know that clients using 3-pack have a much higher failure rate with respect to application, because there's a delay between they use the last one and when they get the next one, life gets in the road, etc., etc. So we know that if they have 3-packs, they're going to miss 1 or 2 months after every 3-pack before they get the next application. If they have a 6-pack, there's going to be a similar delay, but since you only have 2 6-packs a year as opposed to 3 4-packs, there's going to be a lot better compliance. Then, excellence in pet care, providing everything the client needs, giving the owner everything that the pet needs, it's really a no-brainer. I mean, it's almost unethical for us not to recommend the 6-pack versus the 3-pack. Now, it's the client's choice whether they take it or not, but when you say to the client, hey, how would you like to save yourself $1.50, $2, whatever it happens to be, on your flea control purchase this month, then, and the client, of course, they'll say, are you crazy? Of course, if I can save $2, tell me how. Well, buy a 6-pack. It's more convenient, it's cheaper, because you're buying it in quantity. And by the way, as a consequence, you're going to have less missed months. Therefore, you're going to have better flea control on your pet. You're going to have less potential for a flea outbreak. By the way, fleas are the things that transmit tapeworms to your kids. I noticed you've got a baby seat in the car. I know you don't want your kids to have tapeworms, etc., etc. So this is a win-win-win situation for everyone. So if you have not visited vision and core values, if you don't have vision and core values in place at your practice already, I'm going to really strongly suggest that you go back and have a staff discussion or training about it. If you have a vision and you have a core values, let me challenge you. The next time that you walk into work, ask your team members, do we have a vision? If they say, well, you'd hope they'd say yes, wouldn't you? If you've got one and you told them about it during the hiring process or during their induction, you'd hope they'd say yes. Hey, Sally, just remind me of what that is, would you? And if Sally can't give you a rough, good idea of what the vision is, then maybe I'm going to suggest you revisit that vision. And core values. Sally, have we got a set of core values? Yeah, boss, we got a set of core values. How many are there? Well, you'd hope she'd say 6 if there are. Give me 3 of them. If they're stuttering or stammering or anything else like that, they're not really in her height of mind. They're in one of her bottom desk drawers somewhere, filed in that filing cabinet. Hopefully not in the circular filing cabinet. And all jokes aside, your practice staff, for your practice to do awesomely well and to function really well, to have an independent, highly performing, highly motivated team, to not consider upsells and cross-sells and upsells and cross-sells, to consider them to be part of what we do here to provide the client and the patient with everything they need. Your team need to live these. Okay? It's that simple. They need to be part of their everyday existence. So, 2 things. 1, if you've got them, revisit them. Okay? Ask the question. Number 2, if you haven't got them, or if your team aren't straight on them, then do a training on them. And I'm going to add in a 10 cents of my own plug here. I work with practices and I'm happy to come in for half a day or a day and workshop these and lock them into place in a practice. It's part of what I do it again and again or all over the world. So if you want me to, so you can do this on your own, no question. However, sometimes you're not a prophet in your own land. You know that. You know where you've told your staff something and they say, yeah, and you've told them again and again, it's yeah. And then someone different from outside comes and tells them, or they hear it on the internet, or a friend from another practice tells them, and it's gold to them. They've got it. So if you want me to come in and do a training with you and develop and then inculcate these into your practice team, give me a call. Just reply to this email or email me on dge@turbochargeyourpractice.com. You know the email address. Give me a yell and we can set it up. That's it for today. See you on the next video. Bye.